So I think what I like about this doing the watercolouring in is that you start off with these lovely broad swathes of colour. It doesn't take very long. And it's from there is when you start putting in your darks and your lights. So I just kept flipping the picture because this picture's on the front page. So I kept flipping the book back and forth so I could see where the dark lines were in the picture. And then now, like, it didn't take too long to let that dry, and I just do swathes of the light colour all over the rocks. And then I can go in and put the darks and the lights in, at my leisure afterwards. So it's kind of like, I remember painting these things and you had to do each rock very separately, but this way, colouring it in, you can do all the rocks at once. But then you have a look at this, all throughout. Now you start putting your darks and your lights in. See here, I can put all the greens of the tree in at once. And then I go in and I think, okay, where is the sun coming from? So you're always thinking about what's the light part and what's the dark part. I'm doing the trunks of the trees all in this dark colour, but I'm very aware that I'm going to put a light, highlight over the top of the trunks of the trees. So it's nice, At this point, what I'm doing is I think I've ventured into, I got this white acrylic ink because I thought, when it comes to doing this darks and lights, I thought maybe that this acrylic ink would be fully, white, and that will give me a really nice contrast. And I go in there and I put a big blob. But that doesn't matter. Everything is fixable. Yeah, see, then I learnt a lighter touch. And I can fix up that big blob later on. But it was nice. So you can do really fine highlights in the painting with a super thin brush if you've got one. And then what I'm thinking about here is that white cap off of the ocean. The white caps of the waves as they flow into the beach and flow back. And you've also got that shadow underneath the white caps. That's, certainly helped. So now after I put my basic swathes of colour in and filled it with my first layer of colour, that's when I can go back into the picture and highlight and, bring that a bit of definition to everything with the contrast, and make the deeper blues and the darkest browns. Because you think when you're looking at the beach and, all the sun's coming in from a certain angle, you get these lovely highlights on the rocks and there's really deep shadows in there. In order to get the deep orange, the deep shadow on the rocks, and I've used the orange paint to give me the basic colour. So it's complementary. I've used the warm blue in there mixed with just a little bit of orange to get the shadow colour. And I've done that throughout it, like sort of, kind of used a highlighty bit of, maybe mixing a bit of red and purple together there to get a shadow. So now I'm trying to put in the depth and the dark. It's the way that the melaleucas grow in Bunker Bay are like little sort of bunches of broccoli. You've got that lovely shadow in there. And one of the nice things about the melaleucas is that you get this lovely yellow, sort of intense, sort of yellow lime greeny highlight in the sun. And that just really brings out those rounded shapes. It's a wonderful thing to sit out there and paint. Yeah. So yes, and that was me painting Bunker Bay.